Chapter 44 of The Semi-Attached Couple, by Emily Eden. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Colonel Stuart's arrival at Portsdown was a great boon to Lady Portmore, who was living in a sea of tracasserie and explanations, to all of which he graciously inclined his ear. He delighted in a promising bud of tracasserie, and nursed it into a full-blown flower with all the care that a horticulturist bestows on a cankered yellow rose. He advised sharp letters in one direction, friendly appeals in another, epigrams were suggested here, and bemoanings there, wrongs dressed out and rights suppressed, till it seemed somehow as if everybody were to blame, and the original petty affront widened into a circle of heart-burnings and coolnesses. He and Lady Portmore were adepts at this game, except that she was all fire and talk, and he all suavity and reason, but between them they made a great deal of mischief. She was now in a state of political transition, which gave great promise of involvements. To Mr. G.'s original offence of neglecting Lord Portmore, he had now added the sin of refusing an appointment to a very disreputable nephew of Lady Portmore's, who had been turned out of both army and navy, and therefore, as she pointedly observed, "Mr. G. must see that as the young man was not fit for the church, there was nothing for it but to give him a good colonial appointment. He could not starve." Mr. G. asked, "Why not?" and thought a slight course of starvation would perhaps be wholesome. But at all events he declined peremptorily giving a good office to a very mauvais sujet. Lady Portmore was affronted. Mr. G. did not care. She wrote 8 pages of upbraiding and serious entreaty, which he answered by 4 lines of jocose denial; and the result was a complete and entire change in Lady Portmore's opinion on free trade, parliamentary reform, foreign policy, etc. She did not state the precise nature of her new views, but was simply sorry to say that she and Lord Portmore had quite lost all confidence in G., and thought him a most dangerous minister, and were very thankful that the country had a Mr. Sheffield to look to. When Colonel Stuart arrived, she had given warning to all her old government friends, and was organizing a large meeting of former enemies, in which she wanted his assistance. Lord Teviot was of course included in the general proscription of Mr. G.'s friends, and therefore this history of the claims of Mr. Lorimer were not altogether unpleasant to her. Some little time ago she would have waged war to the knife against any one who could have spread or believed such a report, but now, as it had been told to her in confidence, she began by writing it to 15 intimate friends, and then took to dissecting it with her accustomed consistency. "I really am quite grieved to the heart about this sad story of poor Teviot. Supposing it should turn out to be true, I am sure I hope it will not, what is to become of him? G.'s government cannot last a month after Parliament meets, so office will be no resource, even if G. does not turn upon him at once, of which he is quite capable. Such a blow to the Eskdales. Do they know this story?" "I thought it advisable to mention it to Lady Walden, and I believe she told her sister. But a bad account of Lord Teviot hurried Lady Teviot away. I did not see her again." "Ah, Lady Teviot! Many people think her very pretty. I am not sure I do, and by the by, she will not be Lady Teviot if Mr. Lorimer gains his suit. How strange! What will she be?" "Lady Helen Lorimer, unless there is some female title. Teviot may claim through some grandmother or great-grandmother." "Oh no, I am sure there is not. I know a great deal about that family. I fancy we are connected in some way. No, you may depend upon it she will only be Helen Lorimer, and they will be absolute paupers. This is really very sad." And Lady Portmore looked radiant with sorrow. "I should be very sorry if that old title went to such an unmitigated scamp as Harry Lorimer," said Colonel Stuart, "to say nothing of the loss to our friends at St. Mary's. But nobody in these days cares about their friends." "I do," said Lady Portmore severely. "Nobody is so constant to their friends as I am, and poor Teviot was quite devoted to me. But at the same time, if Harry Lorimer has a right to the title, of course he ought to have it, and he must be allowed to take his proper position in society. I think I have asked him before to some of my parties. Have I, Stuart?
Is not he a man all over black hair, with great whiskers?" "Yes, a regular tiger; but he is a good actor, and was tolerated at the Westerbys for the sake of their private theatricals." "Dear me! How convenient it would be to have him here! We are in such want of a good Paul Pry. But with my regard for the Teviots, it would not do, I suppose, to ask him just now. Besides, I am quite wretched about Teviot's illness, and must write by this post to Lady Eskdale to ask how he is, and then we shall have just time for a rehearsal. I am very much disappointed in William Montague. He is a regular stick on the stage. Harry Lorimer would be such a treasure to us just now. But as I said, I suppose the Teviots might hear of it. What do you think, Stuart? Could I ask him?" "Certainly not," said Colonel Stuart, who was alarmed at such an instance of want of tact and feeling. "Besides, he is a vulgar dog at best." "Oh, well, that settles the point; and besides, Teviot is such a friend of mine, only I wish we could detach him from the G. politics. Mr. G. is just the sort of man to give him a peerage if he loses his own. Such a job! However, I will write and ask the Sheffields. His attack on G. at that agricultural meeting was wonderfully clever." And thus ended Lady Portmore's interest in one of her 100 dear friends. Even Mrs. Douglas felt more in her grumbling, unrefined way. Illness, independent of its merits as a destroyer of good looks, had always a certain charm for her. She was an excellent nurse, and now that the Teviots were in adversity, she warmed heartily to them, sent every day to the castle for the latest accounts from Southampton, and though she continued to pity Lady Eskdale for having married her daughters so ill, she was unfeignedly grieved for Helen, and would have gone to Southampton herself if she could have been allowed to assist in attending on Lord Teviot. Chapter 45.